I had a very, true story, debilitating stutter when I was a child. So much so that I didn't really speak at all until I was about 9 or 10 years old. And I've been making up for lost time ever since. But we found that the stutter tended to disappear if I was reading from something. Rather not just spontaneously producing words, but just like reading a script or reading a poem or whatever. And so I started really falling in love with the idea of being on stage and somehow just being able to wrap yourself in the mantle of another character and have these words already there for you and to sort of do your thing with them really brought me out of my shell. And so I totally fell in love with the idea of acting, and I loved stage acting, and I did a lot of it from childhood up until my teens and my early 20s. But I'm also a classically trained pianist, which a lot of people don't know because I don't do anything professionally around that anymore. But, so I came to a crossroads in my life where, fresh out of high school, I had the choice to either go to conservatory to act or go to conservatory to learn to be a pianist and a teacher and all that. And I decided, I literally flipped a coin, and music came up, and so I pursued music. And here I am. The music did not pan out because, you know, it was just a very difficult thing, and being a classically trained pianist, it's hard to find work, that kind of stuff. So that kind of petered off, and I wound up just I kind of went from job to job, just doing I had various careers. I was in marketing for like 7 years, something I just fell into, and I was like, it pays the bills, whatever. And I had long given up on acting, like had just never thought about getting back into it. And then I met Christopher Bevins, who's a writer, director, and actor at Funimation, and I met him through some mutual friends. We got along really well because we were both mutual comic book nerds, and so we became fast friends. And I'd known him for, I guess, a couple of years. I was totally aware of what he did for a living and thought it was neat because I'd always been an anime fanboy, but I never really thought of, that'd be really cool to do that. I just never allowed myself to think those dreams were dead. And out of the blue, he just called me up one day and was like, hey, I'm working on this show called Samurai 7. Are you familiar with the show, with the movie Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, this is based on that, and I want you to play this character. And I'm like, no. And I kept telling him no, because the idea of coming in and doing this for the first time in like 10 years was just daunting, horrified me. And I'm like, I'm just going to embarrass myself. You're very sweet to ask, but no. And luckily for me, Bevins does not take no for an answer, and he went from being this very sweet guy that I thought I knew to being this, like, you're going to come in, if I have to kidnap you by gunpoint, you're coming in, you know, like, whatever, if you suck, we'll laugh, and we'll never speak of it again, just get in here and let me audition. So, I finally said yes, just to calm him down, and to, like, keep him from throwing bricks through my window. And I went in, and it was like a 4-hour audition. I was like, 4 hours? Audition? Like, I've auditioned many times in my life doing stuff when I was younger, and it's like, you got 10, 20 minutes maybe before, like, okay, that's wonderful, get off the stage. So I'm like, how? And so we did this really intense 4-hour session where, like, mind you, I'd never been in front of a mic before, had never matched mouth movements, what we call flaps, had never really learned how to read technically a dub script, which is a very different animal than any other kind of script. And it was just sort of learning all of this, and I'm thinking, wow, he's really dedicating a lot of this time to just sort of teaching me how to do this like a student. And at 4 hours, like, you know, we'd been discussing the character's motivation and changing the voice up a bit, doing this, doing that, and it was exhausting and really very fun, but when it was over with, I assumed I'd sucked. And so I walked out of the booth kind of cocky going, yeah, see, you've wasted your time, now leave me alone. And I said, you know, I gotta ask you, like, just out of curiosity, this is like 4 hours, really? Like, how do you people get anything done if it takes you 4 hours to audition every single person for every single role, however little? And he's like, oh, no, it doesn't. The audition was like 10 minutes. You won it, and we've just recorded the first 6 episodes. Sign here, coming next Sunday. And so I was like, I got totally tricked into it, by the way. So that is how that happened. And then after that, it's like we worked on that show for like a year. I came in like, I had a full-time job at the time. So I would come in evenings and weekends and didn't get to meet anybody else in the industry for a while because I wasn't up there doing normal operation hours. Bevins kind of took me under his wing and ushered me in and kind of snuck me under the radar. And then once other people started seeing my work in that show, I got other work, and you know, one thing led to another. And they're like, hey, do you want to direct? I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. And do you want to direct? It's one of those industries that you just kind of have to, it's such a niche industry. It's very rare that someone gets into it unless like an agent points it out to them or they know someone who's like willing to be very patient and like, because I didn't know how to voice act. I mean, voice acting is a very different creature than other kinds of acting because you don't have the luxury of, you know, working with other actors in real time. We all record things in isolation. So you have to make it sound like you're really talking to Brina right now, even though she's not even recorded yet. It'll probably be 6 weeks before she is, you know. And so you have to learn. You don't have that. It's really, really interesting. And it was really awkward at first. But and I've seen a lot of really wonderful stage actors have a really hard time making that transition because they're so used to the energy of a live audience. Or a crew, a big crew that's kind of serves the same function for them, and having like other actors they can actually bounce off of and things like that. And you're kind of recording in a vacuum when you're doing it, and so it's hard work. It's very hard work, and I wouldn't have done it had Bevins not prepped me. So I'm glad he did. I love it now, but if I'd known how hard it was before I went into audition, I would have not let Bevins talk me into it. I'd been like, no, are you kidding me? No, no. I can't come in. I have to wash my hair. I have to strain cabbage or whatever. Like, I would have come up with excuses. You have a lot of questions, don't you? Oh, wait, let me